How do you think Trump will deal with the Israel-Palestine conflict? Because his appointments obviously suggest that he's going to be pro-Israel, and whereas on the other hand, a lot of Arab
So,
Americans voted for him in Dearborn here.
his thing is going to be very, very clear. His idea for quick end to the war is remove all restraints on Israel and let Israel achieve its strategy. Biden's thing was don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, which prolonged the conflict. Trump will go and tell Netanyahu, Bibi, I'm not going to micromanage this. These are your strategic goals, achieve them. I'm not going to put any. You ask me for 100 bombs, I will give you 1,000 bombs. But I need this finished off by so and so date.
Hmm.
And at that point, remember, Bibi does not have an escape clause. He can't say, oh, sir, but you're the one that sabotaged me, etc., etc. He says, well, I mean, if you're giving me 10 times the amount that I asked for, I better do what he says.
Mhm.
So it's actually very surprisingly, it's actually going to put more pressure on Bibi and the Israelis to wrap
Mhm.
up their campaign quickly than Biden was able to put. It's actually very counterintuitive that way. Because when somebody smothers you with love, it's impossible to say no, right? Like to the stepmother, you can easily say no. But when it's your own mother feeding you, I don't know, muh mein ghee shakkar and I don't know what gets you, chettinad chicken or aloo ka paratha or whatever it is, force feeding you aloo ka paratha. No, mommy, I don't want anymore. Lots of hugs and kisses. It's impossible to say no, right? Um, it's I do believe you will see the end of whatever the Israeli campaign is within the first year of a Trump administration.
I do agree with you because Trump is the kind of guy who likes to portray American strength to the world, and he likes to brag that under him no major war was started, and he might, like you said, tell Israel to wrap up quickly, and in order to focus on China as well, right? And how do you think he will deal with Iran? Some have said that this time around it might be different and he might try to do a deal with Iran.
I doubt that very much because there's a reason Ayatollah Khamenei went into coma the moment Trump won the election. You see, he wasn't expecting that. It throws a lot of, if you remember last time, that same unstinting support for the Saudis, Emiratis, and the Israelis uh, kind of pushed Iran into a very, very difficult corner. Now, you can I don't think Trump fundamentally believes the Iranians are evil or believes his own rhetoric about Iran. The point there was simple. You create one arch enemy for everybody to focus on. And so your own differences seem not so great, which is how he was able to implement the Abraham Accords. Right? It's the same thing again. Now, will Iran be able to stand up to all that pressure? Is the question. Now,
Mhm.
what if he says, I am enforcing a blockade of the Persian Gulf, a full on blockade? Why? Because in 6 months, this will achieve results and then I can shift over to China.
Mhm.
Deploys 3 aircraft carriers because Bahrain can take one uh, battle group. It can easily take 3 battle groups as well. It's a giant naval base, right? You can easily do it.
Mhm.
And then what happens? No Iranian flights, no Iranian imports, no Iranian exports. You cut off all the Hawala links between Dubai and Iran. Uh, he's more than capable of doing it. He's shown I mean, last time, remember, he walked out from the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, unilaterally. And it proved very advantageous to peace in the region, again, counterintuitively. So he can do anything in that particular thing. And the Iranians fear that. They are able to game the Democrat mindset very easily. For them, the Democrats are very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
They're very scared of Trump because he's very unpredictable, which is exactly what the rest of the world feels about Iran. They're scared of Iran because Iran is unpredictable. What the rest of the world feels about Iran, Iran feels about Trump.
So, do you think the support for their proxies will also continue under Trump?
It will absolutely continue under Trump because remember that is your interim deterrent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, till you get nuclear weapons, when nuclear weapons become your main deterrent. Hezbollah, Hamas, and all these organizations and all the Shia militias in the Middle East were meant to be your short term deterrent. They were a short term conventional, well, short term sub conventional. Normally, these things, this kind of conventional deterrence is done by warships, submarines, and aircraft. They were doing it at sub-conventional level, which also gave them the ability to chabi lagao fire. Conventional military, you can't chabi lagao fire. Like the Pakistanis showed us, they were able to, chabi lagao fire us by using terrorists, what is essentially sub-conventional warfare. Um, so it's a very useful tool that's very easy to calibrate very, very finely
Mm-hmm.
and yields disproportionate results.
Okay. So I want to ask you, given how the rhetoric is in the Israeli government that they are trying to annex the West Bank and resettle northern Gaza, this could again flare up tensions. So do you think Trump will allow that to happen because he, like you said, wants Bibi to wrap up this war as quickly as possible?
No American administration is going to allow those annexations of Gaza to happen. I'll tell you why. This is also a classic Israeli negotiating position. If you go back to the history of Israeli negotiations with the Palestinians starting in the 1990s, their standard trick is to be absolutely maximalist and say, we're going to annex 70% of your land, 90% of your land, or whatever. And then, even when they take only 10 or 15% away, you feel extremely elated and grateful to the Israelis that they've allowed you, given you 85%. They're very clear that the minimum they're going to settle for is about a 5 kilometer band-aid zone around every part. Maritime
Mhm.
exclusion zone and a 5 kilometer strip between Egypt and Gaza, the Negev and Gaza, and Ashdod and Gaza. ठीक? They're not going to annex it, but they're going to keep it as no man's land and patrol it.
Mhm.
Now, the question is, will they also do strips within Gaza, cutting off Gaza into three separate strips? I don't think they will. I think they're going to choose a particularly nasty Gazan military dictator. Basically, they're going to choose a Gazan Ramzan Kadyrov, right? Devoutly Muslim who will do Sharia, who will out Islamize even ISIS in a sense, but he will be more loyal to Israel than Ramzan Kadyrov is to Putin.
Mhm.
Hmm? I think it's exactly going to be the Russian Ramzan Kadyrov Chechen model.
No possibility of a two-state solution. No.
Look, a two-state solution has always been possible till now.
Okay.
Um, the problem was the Palestinians never wanted it. You look at the Camp David negotiations. What was it that the whole of Gaza and Ariel Sharon proved his bona fides by withdrawing completely from Gaza? And what was on offer in the West Bank? It was initially you will get 70%. Ultimately, you will get slowly because they were going to dismantle all the settler these things. You will get a full 97%. You are not going to get Jerusalem, but you're going to get land in lieu of Jerusalem. They, they didn't even want that because their game plan has always been, we're going to become a Muslim majority. We will then accept Israel and we will demand our democratic rights within Israel when we become a Muslim majority country.
Mhm.
That's a very nihilist approach. Because if you think that the Israelis are going to be intimidated by reproduction warfare in that sense, uh, population jihad, if you want to call it that. Boss, you've got this is a flight of fancy. I don't know why so many Palestinians actually believe this nonsense, but they do, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It remains to be seen what happens. Hopefully, there's peace in the region very soon.